folks, grab a seat and pour your drink neat as Whiskers and Whiskeys presents Tales of the Trophies, the SEC's greatest rivalries. I'm Mike, with me is EJ. EJ, how's it going, buddy?
It's going well. Very disappointing football weekend on multiple accounts.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going around. Not for me so much. Well, Bama looked great, though I am a little concerned. You know, Bryce Young leaving early with a shoulder strain, but Jalen Milroe looked up for the task.
Yeah, what the heck's up with that dude? He's like 6'9", 280. Dude looked huge.
Showers in vodka and feeds his baby shrimp scampi. Yeah, he's a son of a bitch. He's Bill Brasky basically, and he did well, man. I mean, I haven't seen, because I haven't watched the games where they're just beating the piss out of people, and and Bryce comes out, but yeah, he looked good. He looked up to the task. But I mean, I think that's one piece of it. But then, man, the run game really got going there. So I mean,
as in the dude touched the ball 4 times and scored and had 180 yards rushing on 4 touches.
That's right. That's what I was talking about, actually. Yeah, that right there. Yeah, just gone. Like, and seeing that, I had to watch the game. We had a party on a surprise birthday party on Saturday. I didn't watch anything. I came back and watched the game, and that was exciting. But like I fast forward, because I'm like, okay, let's go to the drive. Both of those long touchdowns is like the first handoff. So like I paused it, and like he's already gone, so It's like, okay, I know what's gonna happen here. So
yeah, it was 5-point game in the fourth. No Young, like, the Hogs are looking to at least cover, if not like really try and win this game, and it got out of hand real quick.
It did.
It escalated.
It did. Yeah, so I didn't watch a ton this weekend. Did check the old sports book, and it was a bloodbath.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that in a second, because there's something that you had messaged offline that we need to discuss here.
I wonder what that's about, but I'm trying to think what
you'll know it when we get there.
Okay.
So what are we drinking today? So today we're talking about the Deep South's oldest rivalry. And yes, it is the Deep South, not just the South. And of course, we'll get into that. But trying to think about what cocktail went best with this. And I struggled. I was trying to really think about, like, we've already done a little bit of, already talked about Georgia. Not that I know of any real cocktails coming out of Auburn. So I just went to my favorite cocktail, which also happens to be the Deep South's oldest cocktail.
Really?
Yes, actually, it is one of the first cocktails ever recognized as a cocktail. So a lot of drinks were like kind of tonics back in the day, and this is the first one that was actually considered a cocktail. So if you look up what is the first cocktail, the Sazerac, hailing from New Orleans, is credited with being the oldest cocktail ever.
Wow.
Like written down or talked about, because I gotta remember what the difference. It wasn't just like, it was one of the first times people mixed a drink together, right? Like there had been straight alcohols, across the world,
right?
Depending on where you're at, but like actually making a cocktail, the Sazerac is the oldest, and it is also my favorite drink. And it was awesome because I had all of the ingredients from all the times that I've had it. So the Sazerac, so it is 1.5 ounces of Sazerac Rye whiskey. So you can actually get, long story short, I actually did during the pandemic, my company, when we were first remote, trying to find some team building things, we did like master classes. So each of us did like a master class on something, whether it was like a food item or a cocktail. And so this was mine. So I told the history of the Sazerac. I'm not going to give you the full history, but essentially, there was eventually a rye whiskey created, and then Buffalo Trace was actually the one that bought it
Yeah.
And for people in Virginia, Buffalo Trace is really hard to get in Virginia. It's a pain in the ass.
It is.
Yeah. It's nonsensical. So the Sazerac Rye, the official Sazerac House Rye is from Buffalo Trace, but I did not have that. I had some good old Wiggle whiskey, so a good Pennsylvania rye. But yeah, so you want 1.5 ounces of Sazerac Rye whiskey, 1 sugar cube. If you don't have horses and don't have a sugar cube, that's just a teaspoon for everyone. Keeping track at
Actually,
home.
I never knew that. It was just a teaspoon. So there we go. Perfect.
And officially 4 grams of sugar, if you were wondering as well.
Yeah. I got rid of all my horses. So
3 dashes of Peychaud bitters. So Peychaud is the original is named after the original cocktail artist who created the Sazerac. And bitters back in the day didn't, like, everyone has like a misconception on what, like, you think bitters are bitter, but bitters back in the day actually meant I'm going to butcher this now. It meant not condiment. I might have meant just like spice. I think it was like spice. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Spices.
That
so yeah. I was like, well, I was trying to find the right word. Condiment was not the right word there.
No.
Yes,
not.
But spices. That's what bitters meant. So you want 3 dashes of Peychaud bitters because there's definitely a few different types. And then you want a 1/4 ounce. Really, it's just, I don't know, a small pour of absinthe. And then you want a little bit of a lemon twist garnish. So what you do is you pack an old fashioned glass with ice and just let it sit. So that just chills. You pack it with ice, leave it alone. You grab another glass and you put the sugar cube in it, and you do 3 dashes of the bitters, and you mix it together, crumble it up. So if you're just using, like I did, a spoon, whatever, just kind of mix up the bitters with the sugar, and then you add the 1.5 ounces of whiskey to it, and add ice to that glass, and you stir it up, get it all nice and mixed. And then with your other glass that was just full of ice, you dump that ice out and you pour in, I mean, it says like a 1/4 ounce, but just pour in some sort of absinthe, because all it is a rinse. So you just pour in enough to be able to rotate your glass and rinse it, and then dump that out. And then once that is done,
wasteful.
Yes. Well, you know, I mean, the absinthe, which I've had by itself, and of course, this isn't like the Amsterdam absinthe. You know, it's the American friendly. It's terrible. It's really just meant to. It's not meant to be by itself. It's meant to be like in a cocktail. So you pour that out, and then you add in the other cup that had the ice, the sugar, and the bitters and the whiskey. You strain it, so you don't want any ice in this drink. You strain it into your chilled ice that had the absinthe rinse, and then you just get yourself a nice little lemon twist. You cut off a little piece of it. You know, try and wring out as much little lemon zest as you can. Do a nice little rim job with it, and then you just nicely plop it in there.
I will say, when the first time you made this for me, I was like a little apprehensive about the absinthe situation, and I'm like, this is a lot of steps, but it's a delicious drink. I mean, and it's really not that difficult. That's one thing I've learned a lot doing this podcast, is that there's a lot of drinks out there. Did you say that again? No, Siri, I'm not talking to you. There's a lot of drinks out there that are, shut up, bitch. There's a lot of drinks that seem very like the whiskey sour, you know, like I was intimidated by that with the egg whites and everything, but really
all our wine float, that was great. We had some great technique there.
Oh, it was. Yeah. I mean, we should just go off this weekend during the cocktail party, during your little party, and just be real cocktail artists, like
mixologists. Yes, let's do it.
No, well, yeah, you want to be a mixologist? That's more scientific. I was thinking a cocktail artiste, you know, like I'll have a funny hat, or maybe I'll be like Bob Ross. I'll show up and, this is a happy little cocktail. Here's an extra shot. It's a secret between you and me. Only we'll know about it. And then,
I think I would enjoy that. I think I agree with you. I know there's been a couple of my coworkers that picked up like making cocktails over COVID. And
Yeah.
it's definitely intimidating. It sounds really intimidating,
Yeah.
but I'm actually glad that we do this because it's really not.
Yeah.
And we're no experts. I mean, we're experts on drinking it perhaps, but
Yeah.
definitely not of making it.
Absolutely.
And a lot of stuff really is it's more so getting the ingredients than it is actually like executing,
Oh yeah.
creating the cocktail.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And it's,
Uh,
sometimes it's nice, it's like I love, obviously I love a neat drink, or at least on the rocks, but every once in a while just a little bit extra flavor there. Yeah.
Yep.
It's nice.
A nice little neat drink. And
Yeah.
if you guys are trying to track this at home, I mean, it's essentially just a New Orleans version of an old fashioned. It's very similar. Obviously, you substitute in the lemon or substitute out the orange and add in the lemon, and then the absinthe and the Peychaud bitters are what separate it from an old fashioned. But it tastes very similar.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's my favorite, and I was very fortunate enough to have one in New Orleans, which was awesome because it's pretty hit or miss if you get it. Even at like a nicer, obviously, I would never order it at like a crappier bar or a sports bar or anything like that. But even at like a nice restaurant with a bar, it can be really hit or miss on whether they know how to make it properly. So that was definitely a treat to be able to get it down in New Orleans.
It was.
So moving on to Pick'em with the boys. Woof.
Oh.
After feeling real good about ourselves, we quickly came down to earth. So that's what I was talking about when we were messaging one of our guest pickers, Nathan. You had mentioned that you were kind of scared because you and I were on the same page. It was like, oh, yes. Well, apparently when we're on the same page, it's not a good thing. Yeah, it was rough. I went 0-3. Unfortunately, which has been the story for me is I've had always more than 3 games I loved, and I just keep picking the goddamn wrong games. Like in that chat, I had talked about UCLA on Friday morning, loved UCLA, didn't take them officially for our thing. Of course, they play well. Yeah. I loved TCU the whole goddamn week, and I talked myself out of it because of the stupid trend stat of Oklahoma not losing back-to-back games in like 30 years, which is stupid because it's a completely new team. And dumb. Loved TCU. Like, so it just kind of stinks when you have like.
Wait,
I always end up having.
You weren't on Clemson?
No, so I would have taken NC State, which I don't think would have covered. Right, I would have been on Clemson that side covered. Of it. 6.5 was what I was.
I called that game. I said. I not only did I take Clemson, but someone was asking me like, it was up to 7. I got it 6.5. It was up to 7. They're like, should I buy the half point? I said, Clemson's going to win this game by like 9. I said, maybe 10. 10's the ceiling, but they're going to win by 9, I thought. And they ended up winning by 10. I was like, they're going to win by 2 scores, but just 2 scores, So yeah, I got that. That one kind of like turned the night around a little bit. But Friday, I mean, who did I pick on Friday?
UTSA, which was a good pick. And that's where I really thought the Hogs were going to. And I had mentioned that I thought the Hogs had a good chance because I thought based on losing to A&M, like if they had won, if they had beaten A&M, which just meant like the kicker didn't have this incredibly unbelievable miss. It would have been probably closer to like 13 and a half is probably where it went. So I really thought there was good value at 17 and a half. And I mean, until they imploded with like 10 minutes left, that was true. And the same with UTSA, right? You perfect. As soon as I saw you pick them, I was like, that's a smart pick, right? Middle Tennessee coming off of the big win against, who'd they beat again? Oh, Miami. And so
was that just a shot, or did you really forget?
No, I really forgot. But then when I smiled,
dig at the boys.
So then I was like, okay, that this line is inflated because of that. But
I took UCLA money line. I was like, this is just it's going to be a great Saturday, and then it just was not. So Corso was sick too. So I wonder if there was just bad vibes out in the universe because he missed game day. He was under the weather. So,
And it was at Clemson, that was the second mistake.
Don't get me started. Auburn by a lake. Auburn with a lake. So yeah.
Yeah, so it's one of those things, and then unfortunately it carried over to Sunday for us. And thank God my saving grace is both my fantasy teams, or it's literally it. Are the only things that have been positive coming from this weekend.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I'm in two leagues, right? And this big money league that I'm in, it's like we always lose. Like when we're up big and when it's like, oh yeah, we got this, we just somehow end up losing. So I've got a 34-point lead, and all the guys got left is Cam Akers. And I have a 99% chance of winning. I'm scared to death. It's gotten to the point where I take screenshots because it's like, oh, you have an 80+% chance of winning. I'm like, no, I don't. Watch how this turns around. So,
and Cam Akers with 3 touchdowns and 150 yards on the ground.
They give him the Heisman retroactively because of how well he's going to play tonight. So,
oh man, yeah. Well, here's to hoping that
better days.
Turn around. And this weekend's going to be exciting because not only are we going to be together,
yes,
which is always fun when you can, at least, even if it's just a single game, that you can be with someone and bet on a single game. It just makes it that much more fun. We're also going to have a third person that is been on our podcast, one of our guest pickers, Nathan, is also going to be at my house as well, and he loves to bet. I will say, as crappy as it was results wise, I think for really the whole gang, it was awesome. We had how many guest pickers this last week?
4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm loving the participation again, guys. I think Mike is out to 8 wins.
I went 1 and 2 this week. So again, I didn't. Did you update it? I didn't update it.
I did not.
I'll update it. Yeah, I'll update it. Yeah, oh wait, hold on. What did I do? Because I got UTSA. Did Ole Miss cover?
No, and Air Force did not either. That was the other one.
Son of a bitch. My cousin's like Air Force, and now I'm like, okay, I'll bet him. Peep from him this week. So
yeah,
bitch.
Yeah. So guys, he's at 8. He's at the top. You can catch him. So if you have not given us picks yet, honestly, 2 really great weeks and you're within striking range, most likely, right? So and there are plenty of weeks left. So please, if you have not sent us your bets, again, just use FanDuel is what we use, so that we know the spreads only, and pick 3 games, and we keep track of them, and at the end of the year.
What Doyle do this week? Did he have 1 or 2?
I don't remember.
I'm gonna have to check.
Yeah,
he might be in striking distance here.
Okay. Yeah, so for the listeners, so Mike and I have a competition. Whoever wins gets a bottle from the other person, and then if any of our guest pickers, and it can be more than one, beats us collectively, so it has to beat both of us, then we will give away a nice little customized piece of swag, some whiskers and whiskey swag.
Yeah.
So it's really just need to do it. I know a lot of you place bets on Saturdays anyway, so it's really no harm.
Cover? Michigan cover?
Did.
Son of a bitch. Yeah, Doyle's in striking distance now. He's he's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13. Oh yeah. I'm 8 and 7, and he's 6 and 9.
Okay.
So,
there you go.
He is in striking distance at this point. So, which is, I
know.
And this was his first winning week. Yeah, I mean, just goes to show this was his first winning week. So, he was 1 and 2 every other week, and then he puts together 2 in 1 week, and boom, striking distance. So,
bang.
Yeah.
So, guys, please just send us your bets if you wanna join. We're not experts here. You can probably beat us handily if you're good at this kind of thing. So yeah. So why don't we get to our game here? So today we're talking about the Deep South's oldest rivalry, and that is played between Georgia and Auburn. So I'm going to start off a little fun fact here. So this series is currently the second most played, tied for the second most played rivalry of all time. Can you name the longest? So mind you, this isn't consecutively. This is just overall total amount of times it's been played.
Most games played.
And I will give you a hint. We talked about it last year.
Yeah, I was going to say, we talked about it last year.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't talk about the game last year, right?
Nope.
We didn't talk about Michigan, Ohio State. Is it
I want the trophy's name, please. I do not want the schools.
It's got to be either the Old Oaken Bucket or the Little Brown Jug. I'm going to say the Little Brown Jug. No? Not the Old Oaken Bucket either?
No. The only problem with that is you have Minnesota and Michigan have been separate for a while in division, so they don't play each other every year. This is a matchup that happens every year.
Okay.
And same would go with Indiana and Purdue because they got split up.
Is it the Governor's Trophy?
Mm-mm.
Michigan State, Penn State? Or sorry, the Land Grant. It is Governor's Trophy, but it's the Land Grant Trophy. Shoot.
Wrong side of the Big Ten.
Wrong side. Is it Iowa State? Is it the Cyhawk?
It is not the Cyhawk. Man, you
that's
strike
not
out.
even that Big 12. Yeah. Gosh.
There is a staple in the Big Ten that you are missing. They just fired their coach today.
Oh, Chris. So it's the Badgers. So is it Paul Bunyan's axe?
It sure is. Wisconsin and Minnesota.
There we go.
That is the longest played rivalry, and the second longest, and this is very fluid. It literally changes based on like the Deep South's oldest rivalry became the second most played rivalry because I don't remember, 2015 maybe, they played each other in the SEC championship game. They doubled up in a year. That catapulted them into a tie for second with the South's oldest rivalry. So it's a different one. And can you name the two schools that are involved in that one? They're two ACC
South's
schools.
Oldest rivalry, two ACC schools.
Yes. And not the ones you're thinking about.
The South's oldest rivalry, two ACC schools. Not the ones I'm thinking about.
Yep.
Okay, is one of the schools Florida State?
No, that would be one you would think about.
Okay, so probably not Miami then. So Georgia Tech.
That's a good guess, but no. Getting warmer.
Okay.
One school is very much like Georgia Tech, maybe academically.
Wake Forest.
No, different state.
So not North Carolina.
Well, okay. The Tar Heels is one. It's the Tar Heels versus.
I was gonna say UNC. Is it UNC in like Virginia?
Yes.
There we go.
Yeah. Yep. That is the South's oldest rivalry, and they are currently, I believe, tied with the Deep South's oldest rivalry as the second most played.
Well, that
rivalry.
makes sense. Yeah, I guess I was going too far deep to start off with. Should have stayed out of Florida.
Yeah, I know. All right. So, what are your guesses to what this trophy looks like?
The Deep South's oldest rivalry. I watched Django Unchained this weekend, so maybe it's the Brittle Brothers just on top of a platform, or Monsieur Candy's cigarette thing. I don't know though. Georgia and Auburn.
What's that famous line out of there? You had my
curiosity. Now you have my attention.
That's what it was. Yeah.
I don't know, man. Deep South Souls Rivalry. It's another good opportunity to have like a cat and a dog, a tiger and a bulldog, I'm guessing. Gosh, it feels like it should just be a big old whiskey jug too, a moonshine jug, with
That
like
would be sick.
the 3X's on it. That would be pretty sick. Though.
Three X's on it.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
moonshine,
like Looney Tunes like style.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I want. That's what I'd like to see. But
I really think that we should do that. We should just draw up a bunch of like what these trophies should be and send them out into the internet and see if we can get any of them to stick.
And a corn cob pipe, like attached to it. Yeah,
that would be add Frosty to it as well. Some buttons.
Right? Why not? Why not?
Okay, so you think it looks like a whiskey jug? Is that what you're going with?
Yeah. What? Might as well. Let's have some fun here. All
right. Well, we'll get to that in a little second. Before we get there, we're gonna try a new segment here. It's a different one. Similar. It's it's going to be trivia based, but we're going to call this one Weird Laws. So I'm going to give you a list of 5 laws, and you're going to tell me whether or not they are from Alabama or if they are from Georgia.
So these are actual laws. I love these old laws. Like it's illegal to take a bath on Wednesdays or like.
That is what this is.
Yeah. Oh, I love these old laws. Okay. All right.
Okay. Number 1. If you have a lantern attached, so this is against the law. If you have a lantern attached to the front of your vehicle, you can drive the wrong way down a one-way street.
I'm going to say that is a Alabama law.
That is an Alabama law. Can we just talk about how insane that is, though? Because it's still like, I mean, sure, you have to like find a lantern, but like I can drive the wrong way down a one-way street if I have a lantern on the front of my car.
It still seems crazy. Yeah.
It says vehicle too. It's not like buggy. Like it, it specifically says vehicle.
Yeah. I mean, I guess this was a time when maybe vehicles weren't as popular, like automobiles might not have been as popular. So it'd be easier for a horse and buggy to kind of get to the side.
Yeah.
But, that's crazy.
And remember though, so if you go to Alabama right now and you see someone coming on the wrong way,
if the guy's a lantern,
before you freak out, make sure he doesn't have a lantern. Because if he has a lantern, then he has the right of way.
Yeah, maybe that's a law. Can we check to see if that's a law in Ohio? And then can we check to see if like Myles Garrett had a lantern on the front of his car this past week? Maybe he's old school.
Yeah, he's just gunning it the wrong way.
Yeah,
the lantern was there.
Whips his Porsche. It's like, well, guys, he's got a lantern. It's 100 yards that way, but allegedly it was on the car. So
there you go. Number 2. You cannot put salt on a railroad track. It can be punishable by death.
Punishable by death for salt on a railroad track?
Yes.
What is that like?
I have a reason why, but you got to tell me which state.
Georgia.
Alabama.
Okay.
So Alabama used to be an open range state, meaning that livestock roamed free. Salt was used to lure sick or injured cattle onto the railroad tracks. So the railroad companies would have to then pay market value for the deceased animal.
That's smart. That is really smart. Huh. Yeah. We were in Utah at Dead Horse Point State Park and Canyonlands, right? And there it's open range as well. And if you hit a cow, you got to pay market price for that cow. So.
Yep. So punishable by death. Don't mess around with salt on railroad tracks in Alabama.
Okay, fair enough.
All right. No one may carry an ice cream cone in their back pocket if it is Sunday.
Why would you do it in general? Georgia.
Correct. However, well, hold on. Correct. So this is another one that sounds weird, but it has a reason. So horse thieves apparently used to put ice cream cones in the back pocket to lure horses away.
Why an ice cream cone in your back pocket?
Don't know. So they're not really sure why it only applies to the one day, but people suspect that it must be related to church, right? Like tying up your horse on Sundays. Maybe there's all the horses are together in one easy place. So there must have been some horse thieves that would just like
man, you're
walk
going
past.
to hell. You're going to hell.
So that is illegal to do on Sundays in Georgia. However, it is illegal all the time to do in Alabama for the exact same way, because that was the way that horse thieves used to steal horses.
Okay, fair enough.
There you go.
Wow, yeah.
So number 4, members of the state assembly cannot be ticketed for speeding while the state assembly is in session.
Georgia.
Yes, this is a Georgia law, and this is one of those, you shake your head at the politicians getting their, privileges.
Unbelievable. Yep.
And finally, number 5, it is illegal to use confetti.
I'm going to say Alabama. Maybe that's why they roll Toomer's Corner.
It is Alabama. This one is specific to Mobile, and which makes you think, oh my gosh, that's crazy, because I don't know if you know this, but definitely people from Alabama know this, is Mobile is the original location for Mardi Gras.
Oh.
Yes. So they originated it, and then it got really popular in New Orleans, and that's where it is known for today. So they have their own Mardi Gras celebration, and you might notice that there is a lack of confetti at this festival because it is illegal to use, because it is non-biodegradable. So I guess they just got sick and tired of trying to clean it all up afterwards.
So this all still doesn't happen. Wow.
Yep. That's gonna do it for us. That's weird laws, kind of like weird science. Weird laws.
Yeah. All right. Well, some of those I appreciate the reasoning behind some of those, like the salt on the train track. That's that just seems crazy, but it does make sense. It actually probably makes the most sense out of any of these laws. Like the ice cream cone, the confetti, like the salt on the train track, that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, especially since like people could use that today, right? Like, oh, old Bessie's sick, so why don't we lure her out to the railroad tracks and have the railroad company pay full price for her?
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true. Although if it's not open range, I guess it doesn't. You can't make.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure if this is if it still is an open range state. No, this is used to be, so it probably isn't anymore. Probably because people kept doing it. Okay, so more about the history of this rivalry. So the first matchup was in 1892. Auburn won that game 10-0. And then this series has been played almost continuously from the beginning, with a few exceptions. So in 1893, it just wasn't scheduled. In 1897, Georgia disbanded its team early in the season following the fatal on-field injury of one of its players.
Ooh.
Tried to figure out more about that, couldn't find it. So someone apparently got injured and then died later, and so they disbanded their team. And then in 1917 to 1918, Georgia didn't field a team because of World War I. And then in 1943, Auburn did not field a team due to World War II.
Okay.
So I had mentioned earlier the Deep South's oldest rivalry and the South's oldest rivalry have been tied here and there. There's a lot of back and forth here. Let me just kind of sift through. But essentially, you have North Carolina and Virginia surpassed Auburn and Georgia in 1943, but they still trailed Texas and Texas A&M by a couple of games. But because of conference realignment, that ended a lot of these streaks, like Texas and Texas A&M, and allowed other schools to kind of catapult them. And that happened around in the 2010s. So there's like a grouping of a decent amount of schools. So Kansas and Missouri was one of them. Texas and Texas A&M, like I just mentioned, and even Cincinnati and Miami University, University of Miami, Ohio, and Cincinnati. They have the battle for the bell. And that was the second for a while, so that must be probably fourth now, barely behind them, because as Cincinnati has grown and improved, they've kind of surpassed that MAC school. But yes, so it was 2017. So 2017 is when Auburn and Georgia played twice in a season, once in the regular season and then once again in the conference championship game. And then Cincinnati and Miami of Ohio was canceled due to COVID. And so that left Auburn and Georgia at number 2, tied with North Carolina and Virginia.
There we go.
There you go. Yeah, there's some like I didn't even think about, like Kansas and Missouri, like I don't know, rivalries you don't necessarily think about, or like Texas and Texas A&M. I don't really remember. I wasn't really paying too close attention to Big 12 football before A&M, moved. So
and it'll be back now with the
Texas coming back.
So
so overall Georgia leads the series 62 wins to 56 losses and 8 ties. So close. very close. Even. So this rivalry just has bad blood. So beyond the length of the rivalry, the schools' football histories are quite interconnected. And a lot of that is because there's a lot of individuals that have played or coached at both schools. So for instance, Georgia's all-time winning coach and longtime athletic director, Vance Dooley, earned both his bachelor's and master's degree at Auburn while playing football there. And while he was there, he played under the legendary Auburn football coach, Shug Jordan, which is an awesome name. So Jordan himself was an assistant football coach and head basketball coach at Georgia before he returned to his alma mater. So yeah, there's just a lot of back and forth there. And then that even bleeds into let's see here. There's a new one. So a good example of this, again, like more modern, is Will Muschamp. So he was the Auburn defense coordinator, and offensive line coach Hugh Null, was also an Auburn coach. Both of them were former Georgia players. So I don't know if it's just like if you go to one school, the other school just gives you a coaching job.
They're very close. They're very they are closer to each other than Auburn and Alabama are.
Are they?
Yeah, they're very close. There was even a I don't know if you remember this, a couple of years ago, there was a Chick-fil-A commercial where they did a tailgate on the Alabama-Georgia line and set up like a little Chick-fil-A tailgate there in like a yard that like intersected the states, and they set up a big tailgate. So yeah, very close to each other.
All right. Well, actually, now you have me curious. That's always one thing I don't know if the listeners care, but I've always thought about adding was the distances between some of these schools, just to kind of color a little bit of light there. But how confident are you in your statement that you just made that Auburn, Alabama is closer to Athens, Georgia than it is to Tuscaloosa?
I feel pretty good about that. I feel like I've heard that.
Okay. All right. So Athens, Georgia to Auburn, Alabama, that is 179 miles.
Okay.
So let's see how far it is to Tuscaloosa. 179, and it is 157.
Okay. All right.
But it's really damn close.
It's really close.
Yeah.
It's really, and hey, which route are you using? Like is Google taking you the fastest route? I'm talking as the crow flies, my friend.
When you just think about it, you always assume that in-state rivals are obviously closer than, interstate, but like that's pretty close, right? That was the difference between like 15 miles. So definitely. So Mike, I know this is a question I'm going to ask you, and I already know your answer, but have you ever wondered where the battle cry War Eagle comes from?
Nope. Don't care.
Well,
I have
Mike, you
heard
can
the
tune
story.
you
I have
can
heard the
tune this
story.
out for our listeners here. There are a lot of there's quite a few stories, and I think there isn't an exact story. There's one that historians have kind of gravitated towards, but almost all of the stories have to do with Georgia, which I thought was really interesting.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
so why don't we start off with the
I have heard a version of the story, so I'm interested
Okay.
to hear if the version that you tell that the
Yes.
historians agree upon.
Yes.
Matt, I'm pretty sure I've heard it, on like game day,
Sure.
sometime. But yes, please
Okay.
continue.
So this first one is typically the one that I found had a lot of hits on it, but it's also the one that's considered like the most fun and crazy and kind of folklore.
I love that. Let's go with that one.
All right. So in 1892, during the first meeting between Auburn and Georgia, legend has it that there was a Civil War veteran that was among the spectators of the game. The man had a pet eagle with him that he found on the battlefield during the war. And the eagle broke free from his owner and began to circle the football field during the game. And as the bird flew, the Auburn offense drove down the field for the winning touchdown, and fans started to chant War Eagle to encourage their team.
Yeah. I mean, that is the version that I've heard. Can you imagine just rolling around with a pet eagle?
Yeah. At a football game, like in a crowd.
Oh yeah. You're not
just like, going around town. Like you're in a crowd of thousands of people.
But imagine just going around town. Like you just gotta hop down to the drugstore.
Yeah.
And let's just head on into Walmart. Pet eagle just sits outside. It's like Peacemaker.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Just like Peacemaker.
Eagly.
Eagly. I did not catch this eagle's name. I'm sorry.
It's all right. No one cares.
So the second one's a little bit more believable. So while historical records support the conclusion that the War Eagle probably didn't become associated with Auburn until like the early 1900s, a letter from former Georgia coach Bill Cunningham to the Atlanta Journal in 1944 offers more insight into the chant's origins. So he says, in quotes, War Eagle as a call to arms was born in the hills of North Georgia, fostered by the Georgia football team of 1912 to 1913, and later adopted by Auburn.
So he's saying this was our Georgia thing.
Yes. So while the Auburn adoption cannot be categorized as plagiarism, it has inspired many victory for their famous football team. And he says that the cry belongs to Georgia.
Why did Georgia say War Eagle? They're a bulldog.
Yes. So on Thanksgiving Day in 1906, Harold War Eagle Ketron sealed one of the team's only 2 wins that season with a game-saving tackle on the last down, and the fans erupted in celebration over the 4-0 victory against Georgia's rival.
I'm sorry, 4-0 victory over.
Yeah, over Auburn.
That was the score.
Correct.
In
1906. Yeah. You love those games, right?
I do. Do you know how much money I would pay to see a 4-0 football game at the professional or collegiate level, like in the year of our award 2022?
I mean, you damn near got it in that year that Alabama and LSU played each other twice.
I damn near got it week 1 this year.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but like, Iowa. I mean, but
oh my gosh, 4-0 would be that'd be so incredible.
So by this account, it was Harold War Eagle Ketron that was what Georgia, this old Georgia coach claims is the origin of it. Now
that stinks. That doesn't seem right to me. That's something's rotten in Denmark there.
Okay, so in recent years, a growing number of historians, journalists, and fans have settled on what's considered the most likely origin of the War Eagle Chant, which just comes from a pep rally held the night before the 1913 Auburn-Georgia game, where a spirited interaction between 2 students over a fallen eagle emblem became this history in the making. So in this pep rally, there was a fallen eagle emblem, and they just screamed War Eagle, and it got the crowd going. And apparently this is where historians and everyone seem to think
a fallen eagle emblem. Like what? What dumb name? What dumb chant? And now they got plastered all over their stupid end zone. Like that's so dumb.
Okay, so this rivalry is the SEC's first overtime game, which just really surprised me because it didn't happen until 1996.
Oh, really? First overtime in 1996?
Yes, the Auburn Tigers and the Georgia Bulldogs earned themselves yet another distinction in college football lore. The two teams took part in the first overtime game in the SEC. Georgia would finish the season with a losing record and was down 28-7 at halftime. However, the Bulldogs rallied to tie the score at 28-28 at the end of regulation, and the game went into overtime. Georgia needed 3 overtime periods, but the Bulldogs eventually pulled it out 56-49.
Wow. That's a long time.
Yeah.
1996 till they got overtime.
Yeah. I mean, wow. I don't know. I feel like I should remember some of these dates on like when the SEC was originally created, but yeah, I guess just I don't know if scores just must not have been that common. I don't know if again, like I don't know when overtime was a thing, right? Because ties have been around.
That's true. Ties did exist for a while.
You're probably really smushing in that time of whenever overtime. I probably should look this up. Whenever overtime was first implemented in the SEC, but still, I mean, I assume it was like earlier than the 90s, right? Like,
I guess, but like I don't know. I mean, some of these
70s.
Man, maybe 80s. Well, like
really? Could have been.
I mean, that's what I would guess because, like, you know, at some point, it's like it's just tie's a tie. It's the way it is. So, I mean, that's what I would think. It's only till a while where they're like, hey, you know what? We can gain interest by keeping this game going here.
Yeah, I'm trying to
sell more commercials, you know?
Yeah, it probably had something to do with that, right? It wasn't just like out of the spirit of the game. Oh, I probably shouldn't do this here. I will try not to have too much dead air here, guys, but let me see if I can quickly get an answer here. 1981.
See, there you go.
Regular season overtime was adopted for Division I AA, Division II, Division III in 1981. Overtime was available for the SEC championship when it started in 1992, but was never needed. And not until 1996 did Division 1A fully get on board. There you go.
So wow. So 96 was when 1A got on board?
Yep.
Holy cow.
Never even knew.
So it really didn't take that long. First year, and boom, we got overtime.
I mean, I don't know if this was common when you were growing up playing football, but like ties in football was like kissing your sister. Like I will never forget my football coach saying that it was just something so distinct. And to think that people kissed their sister all the way up until 1996 is
that's the common phrase, right? It's like
yeah.
It's like kissing your sister. So that's a comment. Wow.
I know. There's a little trivia fun fact for you guys. All right, so scroll and tell me what you think about this bad boy.
Here we go. Yes. Oh yeah, buddy. we got a good one, guys. We got a real good one here. We got a nice kind of elaborate beat to shit it says an olden base, nice and elaborate, but it's beat to hell. There's just a big black plaque on it that says first college game played in the South Atlanta, Georgia, February 20th, 1892, Auburn 10, Georgia 0. And then there's a cup on it that can only be described as the Holy Grail from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. I can't really. What does it say?
I think it says the same thing.
It says Stevens and Bro something. So Stevens and Bro must be the
Scroll down to the second picture and you can get a little bit more of the rest of it. It says like intercollegiate football
intercollegiate
contest.
football contest, Georgia, Alabama. Damn, that's dope.
Atlanta,
Yeah, there's so much
Georgia.
like patina on it that you can't even tell.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. That's what we like to see.
And honestly, like, unfortunately, guys, I really tried. This was hard enough to get information on this. And this was one of those instances where if this was like a professional podcast, there's a book written, I probably would have bought the book and read the book. But this isn't. It was really hard to find. I'm not sure if it's still exchanged. Clearly, this is like dates back to, I don't even know if it dates back to that first game. I assume it does.
Yeah.
That seems like an odd plaque to put on there if it wasn't the inaugural game. But I would assume because of its age, it's probably not exchanged or exchanged like not with the players, probably maybe just the schools and the officials. But yeah,
I mean, it looks super old. I don't think
Yeah.
I'd never seen this trophy. So, huh.
And then I will say the only other wrinkle I was able to find, and again, it was based in the book, and I wasn't able to get a picture of this, but in the book, from what I was able to get the free version of it and unscribed, was there is also a Lynch Young Memorial Trophy. So since 1954, the Lynch Young Memorial Trophy was presented to the MVP of the Deep South oldest rivalry. And just to give you guys an idea of some of these players that have won it. Let's see here. So
can I guess? Can I scroll up and guess because I'm not
there's one person here I don't recognize, but then there are three that people will. Two Auburn and one Georgia.
So Cam.
Yep. 2010.
Bo.
Yep. In 1985.
Herschel Walker.
Yep, 1982. There you go. Look at you. I didn't even realize, like, obviously I remember Cam being Auburn, but I don't know that I would have known that Bo and Herschel went to Georgia.
You know the Bo? Oh, yeah.
Now that I say that, I probably knew Herschel Walker, but I guess I never really knew if Bo went to.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, Herschel Walker. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've seen both
Herschel. Now that I think about it,
30s,
Herschel, yes. Bo, I guess no. Like I always think of Bo professionally, right? Like playing baseball and football at the same time. So I guess I never really thought
ass commercial where he's just yelling War Eagle the whole time. So
oh really?
Jackass.
Well, there you go. So
who could kill me? So I mean, I guess Bo, if you're listening, I'm sorry, but not really. Roll Tide, bitch. Anyways.
Yep. So that's gonna do it for us here.
God, I hope he doesn't listen. If he just knocks on my door like this week, I'm gonna be in a blunder.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. If he reaches out to me, I'm probably gonna like give him your address because I don't want that smoke.
That would actually be pretty funny though. If he did just like, I mean, I have to respect it. If he just, I have no idea where he lives now, but I assume it's not anywhere close to here. He just shows up at my house and throws me a beating. He's probably arthritic as all hell now. So you know what? Bring it. Bring the smoke.
Okay, so Bo Jackson, our email is whiskers.whiskies@gmail.com. And if you email us, I will gladly give you Mike's address.
For the pod, I would absolutely sponsor that kind of content.
Yes, we will. We would live. We would Instagram live.
No, you know who I wouldn't want though? Herschel Walker, because I know he's still jacked, and I'm not gonna say anything bad about Mr. Walker. But, like he would for sure. Have you seen him recently?
No,
he was like in the news for something or other, but still just a specimen. So, anyways,
all right, got it. So why don't we get to our rankings here? So again, for the listeners, we rank on a scale of 1 to 5 for looks of the trophy, history of the trophy. History or the rivalry, like the history of the rivalry, the overall competitiveness of the rivalry on a scale from 1 to 5, and then overall we give it either put it in the bottom tier, middle tier, or top tier. So Mike, what do you think?
This is really hard. This is maybe the toughest one I've had to judge. So like I love it's old. Right. I mean, is old, and I love that. Okay, just let me put looks into a vacuum. So looks, I'm gonna say 4. It's very old. I like it. That all that patina on it, like, oh gosh, the big, like, it's as simple as can be, and it's just, oh, it's great. I'm sure it was glorious whenever it was. Actually, it's probably more glorious now, but yeah, really like it. Really like it. Floor history. This is where it's tough because not a lot about the history, not a lot of, theft, thievery, shenanigans. It's not brought onto the field, which is tough, but it's old. So it does have history.
Yes. And again, this could just be lack of open source. So this might just fall pitfall to not enough people honestly caring enough to
which
flood
says
it
a
with
lot about the
articles.
trophy too. So I'm gonna say 2.
Okay.
I hate to do. I feel like I'm low,
Yeah.
but like, it is what it is. Like, I don't know what to say. The rivalry itself, I mean, it's a 4.5. It's a super tough rivalry. They're really good teams. So 4.5. And then competitiveness, again, like 4.5. Like, it's a super competitive rivalry. So overall, I'm gonna say it's mid-tier, and the only reason why it's not like in the top tier is just, I think, from the history perspective. So
Yeah. Okay, so for me, I hate plain. I hate just plain trophies. But
yeah, but it's old.
because this one is so goddamn old, I'm going to give it a 3.5 for looks because, again, like Mike said, it's like a holy grail. Doesn't look very big, but I mean, if it's really coming from 1892, like you can't really complain,
If it was brand new, it'd be a 1.
Right.
But
it's
I don't know if I mentioned it's old.
So history, yeah, I'm kind of with you. And again, this just might be the lack of information available on it. Potentially that book, The Deep South Oldest Rivalry. I think it's the name of the book as well, which a lot of people are trying to get the Deep South dropped from it because they don't believe in UNC and Virginia as a rivalry. Fair enough.
Fair.
There's been a lot of people that have tried to get the deep dropped from it and just call this the South's oldest rivalry. But
deep is better.
Anyway, 2.5 for history, just because, yeah, as of now, it's just the only reason it's 2.5 is because it's so old. The rivalry itself, 4.5. I mean, when you have a very famous war chant, like, game chant that, like you said, is all over, whether you hate the school or not, that stems from something to do with this rivalry. I mean, that's pretty awesome. And the fact that there just seems to be so much vitriol between the schools and so many like players and coaches flip-flopping back and forth. I definitely think it's high on that. Then competitiveness, I put it at a 4. Very competitive, right? Ooh. I think what I said, it was like maybe a 6-game difference. The only reason it's not closer to a 5 for me is just because in recent years, Auburn's just not been, they've had their, 1 or 2 wins, obviously the Natty, but for the most part, it's been Georgia dominant as of recently.
Well, yeah, recently, right? That's a little recency bias, but yeah, I get you.
Yeah, so that's where I'll just put it there. And again, like we're looking at the barrel of another lopsided, most likely victory. But we'll see. So for me, it is a middle tier. Yeah, middle tier. We haven't had a top tier yet.
Not a single, nothing even close, really. No. Like, I mean, everything else, our past 3 have been mid tier.
Oh boy, is that about to change though? Don't you worry.
Oh baby.
Oh baby. Okay, so guys, game is actually this weekend. This is, you know what? I don't even know what the line is. We should probably bet this game. It's 3:30. We'll have it on the TV. We'll find something. I don't know whether or not we'll do spread, whether or not we'll do.
We can go opposite ends on this one. Let me see. Well, hold on.
Or we
before I offer that up.
Or we can go together. Like, I want to win together.
That's true.
Remember
true.
when Cap told Tony Stark we'd lose together too?
Oh my God, though. 29 and a half.
29.
That's an aggressive spread.
What's the over under?
Well, yeah, that's true. We always cheer for points.
Yeah.
God, that's ridiculous.
What's that set at? 60-ish? If you're
50.
assuming
50.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Maybe that's gonna be our play. Because if Georgia scores like 40, which is very likely, like Auburn's bound to get some garbage. I don't know that
Georgia's gonna get 40. I mean, I'm thinking this is like I don't know. Now I'm wondering if Auburn can just play. I mean, like, I'm not trying to give them any tips, but like, just run Tank Bigsby. Like, you have him. Maybe you should use him. Like that's my thing. But yeah. Now I will say, Utah UCLA. Utah's favored by 4.5 going into the Rose Bowl.
Going into the Rose Bowl?
Yeah.
They're gonna do that again?
I mean.
Oh, that's tantalizing there.
Yeah, it is.
All right. Well, we'll talk about that offline. Maybe that'll be something where we keep it off of our pick 'em, but we bet it together the day of.
Yeah.
Okay. So predictions. I mean, Georgia. It's more of a
it's a question
of whether they're going to cover. Yeah. No, Although Georgia scared the shit out of people this last week, right? Really came down to the wire there in Missouri.
I also wonder what the record is at. I feel like this is, and maybe it's just like I'm casting my own fears, but I feel like when Alabama, Auburn, Georgia are three teams that, like, when they're at home against a rival like this, it's specifically with Auburn. It's really Auburn. When Auburn comes into your house, that's when you gotta be worried. If you're going to Jordan-Hare, it's all right. Like, I actually feel more comfortable about that than whenever they come to Tuscaloosa. I feel like it's the same way in Athens. When they go between the hedges, they get a little bit frisky. And I don't know what it is, but it's just that team loves upsetting people on the road.
Well, there you go. And I guess I should have said that. So it's unranked Auburn, who are 3-2. They're traveling to Athens to the number 1 Georgia Bulldogs, 5-0. This game is going to be on CBS at 3:30. So it will be on national TV and there for everyone to watch. There you go.
As we will be.
And that's going to do it for us this week. So follow us on Instagram at whiskers.whiskies. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, don't forget to check out our Saturday morning betting posts. And please
comment. Thank you, guys.
Yes, continue to send us your bets. Again, if you have not done so thus far, Mike is not off to a huge lead. It is very, still open.
We got a whole lot of football left. We're only 5 weeks done, so
a whole lot of football. So you can definitely catch up. So join us next week when we talk about the McCullough Trophy.
I'll even say this. I would consider double or nothing for a championship week. Like, not double or nothing, but like double points.
Double points championship week.
I would consider that. If we get a little more participation, I would consider that.
Interesting. There you go, guys. You heard it here. That could be for all the marbles there.
But you got to show up. You guys got to show up. So sure. Do it now before it's too late. So.
All right, guys. So join us next week when we talk about the McCullough Trophy. For Mike, I'm EJ. Always remember, too much of anything is bad, but too much good whiskey is barely enough.
Cheers, boys.